We've been sort of working together on and off over the years and finding different projects that we wanted to do together. And then when I was asked to do an opera, Clara seemed the natural choice.
We were looking for a story that had religious or kind of mythical resonances. So I read the Bible until I found something I liked. Hagar has the illegitimate son of Abraham. And when Abraham's wife conceives a child, he takes Hagar into the wilderness and abandons her with the baby. When I read the story, there's this moment where Hagar and the child are dying of thirst, and she says, "I know my child's dying, but I cannot bear to watch him die." And she puts the baby down and walks away from him. And that moment just really spoke to me as a human being and as a mother. And suddenly I was in the room with this woman and I thought, I really want to tell this story.
I felt there was a really strong resonance in that there's one version of the story that shows the place where the angel brings the water to Hagar is where Mecca is, and Ishmael is regarded as the father of Islam, as Abraham and Isaac are the fathers of Judaism. And so you kind of, I mean, it brings it right into the present day of this idea of rejection of those that have not.
The brief from Sally was a story that had to work with the Benjamin Britten piece that it's being performed with.
I had the choice of the instruments that are in the Britain's Curlew River. So I used what Britain used mostly, and that was very useful for me to have that kind of boundary. I knew that we had 3 characters as well, because that was discussed before we even started the writing process. So that put a limit on it as well. And I like the project because it's so compact. It's half an hour, it's 3 characters, it's 5 instruments, 5 players, and that's a really good starting point. The biggest challenge was Clara's little casual note in the libretto that said, "We hear orchestrally the sound of water." and that was quite a poser, really, because I have flute, I have harp, viola, bass and percussion, and creating the sound of water from that without it being a complete cliche was a real challenge, and very interesting as well. It was a very interesting thing to try and do.
Collaborating with Sally was a brilliant experience. She's very open to ideas, but she's also got a really strong artistic vision, and the combination of those 2 things just makes it feel a really creative experience.
I wanted to ask Clara because I knew she understood about dramatic pacing, because she's written for screen and for radio. And that's something that's terribly important when you're doing a staged piece, that the writer really understands how it's going to work dramatically and what the path of the characters is through the piece.
Being a writer is quite a lonely business quite a lot of the time. You're sitting at your computer by yourself and just kind of talking to these characters in your head, and actually having somebody who's on that journey with you and who you're kind of sharing the journey with just makes it really exciting.
I think having done this together, I think we might well move on to something much bigger.